here for Behind the Gloves. I'm with Eddie here and finally got to catch you after all that. But let's get straight into it. Sometimes the second version of something doesn't always live up to the first. Can this really live up to it?
I think it has to be the same kind of fight. You know what Chisora's going to do. He's going to walk him down. He's going to throw the kitchen sink at him. And Dylan's got no choice but to fight back. You know, I think it's going to be a war. Don't get me wrong. The first fight was one of the best heavyweight fights I've ever seen. Will we get that again? I wouldn't be surprised. We're going to get a great fight with plenty of drama, because these boys are going to fight to the very, very end. And I think Chisora's got that mentality where he's not going to give in, and Whyte must win. Whyte's got a lot to lose in this fight. Chisora can go in there and enjoy himself and try and shock the world.
2 years on from a certain fight, I'll give you an example or a situation. So like Conbrook, now you may say it's lost a bit of value to what it could have. 2 years on, it seems like this fight's probably valued even more. What else do you think is holding that to push it up?
I think it's basically July 28th. You know, I think before that night, it wasn't as big as it was. You know, Dillian had a great fight with Parker, got off the deck in the 12th round to survive after knocking Parker down twice, and Chisora had the career best win. You know, in one of another fight of the year against Takam. So it's come together after that, and people want to see it. You know, this is a fight that the man on the street, the guy driving the taxis, they're talking about, because people know they're heavyweights. They know both guys. They've seen them time and time again have brilliant fights, and they've seen the first one, and they know what they're going to get. So this is going to do massive numbers. It's going to be a sellout at the O2, and I think it's going to be a great fight.
Got another good fight up the country, which is a shame it's on the same day, but as a promoter, you do the job the best. Why does this fight stand out more to the other one?
That's a good fight. Like, you know, I'm not. You know, they've got a lot of disadvantages. One is the featherweights. You know, we've done Frampton against Quigg before, which was a much bigger fight than this, and we know the numbers that he did on pay-per-view, and it wasn't impressive. It's just not the fight that captivates the casual market. I think maybe in boxing, you might get more hardcore boxing fans saying, actually, I prefer that fight. You go out there on the street and you stop people and you say, Warrington, Frampton, they won't even know who they are. Or Whyte-Chisora. It's no disrespect to them. They're just big heavyweights who have already had a war, and everybody knows who they are. So I'm not here to canvass buy one or don't buy the other. I just know the numbers. And the end results on the night, but they're both good nights of boxing, you know. And I wish they weren't on the same night, because we'll be affected, and they'll be affected. But again, it's a trade fight that we want. You know, we look at this fight and say that doesn't really affect our market, our audience, if that makes sense. So, you know, it's never ideal, but we're doing 60 shows a year. We're going to clash. We're going to clash with ourselves some nights, let alone other promoters.
Derek, you know, is reborn, Whyte-Chisora. Say he comes through Dylan, and you know they're speaking about their goal is to get Anthony Joshua. Realistically, do you think it's more of a chance to get the Dylan Whyte trilogy and give AJ sort of a Miller fight or whatnot? Where do you see that going? Yeah,
I think that both guys are looking to fight AJ. You know, I think the Dillian Whyte fight is a natural fight. I think he deserves the AJ fight. The Chisora fight is not really one that AJ's looked at. I mean, he was his hero growing up in Finchley. But if he flattens Dillian Whyte, then he's going to be calling for that fight. So we'll have to see. But anything can happen right now in this division. Anything can happen. You know, AJ can fight Wilder, Fury, Whyte, Chisora, Usyk, Miller, like any of these guys. So I think the next 3 or 4 weeks are going to be really interesting as we map out the plans. Realistically,
again, I was saying, with the WBC sanctioning that fight, is it way less likely for Wilder Joshua?
All they've done is sanctioned it, so they've just said that if you do a deal, we will allow it. They haven't ordered it. They haven't said you lose your belt if you don't fight. They've just said that the mandatory, which is Dominic Brazil, will have to basically wait because we're approving this rematch. It's a good fight. You know, I'm not going to say, oh, no one wants to see the rematch. They do, but ultimately, it's not as big as a Joshua fight. It's not for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. So I don't know what they're going to do. If Wilder wants to be undisputed, if what he's always said is true, one face, one champion, one name, he has to take this fight. But I don't know what's going on in his head. Maybe he just doesn't fancy the fight with Joshua.
We know the road to undisputed, you know, you want the 4 or 5 belts altogether. In your honesty, percentage-wise, how much is the lineal status important in this?
It's hard because you get criticism by Fury fans or people who just don't like us. The lineal title.
Is there even a belt for it?
No, of course there's not a belt for it.
There's not even a belt for it, is there?
AJ put it really well.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, when I started boxing, no one talked about the Lineal Championship. No one knows what the Lineal Championship is. It's a title that basically you use when you haven't got the other titles. You know, it's the man that beat the man, but the man was Lennox Lewis, and then he retired. So then Klitschko became the man. Why was he the man? He wasn't undisputed. Someone just woke up and went, he's the Lineal, and then he beat him, so he's the Lineal. Then he lost all his belts, you know, and he had his problems with the drug test and stuff like that. So, does he keep it? Or, I don't know.
On the thing you said it's vacated, which I didn't understand. How can you vacate the Lineal?
I don't know. But it's listen, it's a good gimmick and it's a good selling point. But some boxing fans recognise that. We don't just dismiss it. We know that Fury is a world-class heavyweight that Joshua's going to have to beat at some point for people to rest on that lineal status and all that stuff. So I'm not saying, you know, and by the way, Fury should be world champion because he beat Wilder. So, but if he was WBC champion, he wouldn't be calling himself the lineal champion, or he's not even necessarily got. It's just when you're selling a fight, WBC champion against the lineal champion. If he was the WBA champion, he wouldn't even, there'd be no lineal anywhere, you know? So, you know, Joshua wants to be undisputed. That doesn't involve the linear championship, but we know it's there, and he will have to beat Fury at some point in his career.
After Saturday night, does it make it a bit more clear who his opponent would be on April 30th?
Yes, absolutely.
Obviously.
Yeah, but it still depends on Wilder. Until we know Wilder definitely won't fight Joshua, then that's what we want.
Is a Miller fight quite easy to make because obviously both of them are under your promotion?
None of these fights are easy to make. Everybody wants too much money, and no one wants to pay it.
Let's speak about the weekend just gone. You know, Canelo against Rocky Fielding. Unfortunate, he went up against the best. You know, tried his best up there. What do you make of that fight?
I thought Rocky was outclassed by a pound-for-pound great. You know, you're talking about a world-level fighter against a pound-for-pound great. He gave it a great try. He showed plenty of heart, but he wasn't good enough. No disgrace. He got the opportunity to go and box in front of a sold-out Madison Square Garden against Canelo for a lot of money. What are you going to do? So, you know, you see some people saying, oh, you know, you shouldn't take that fight. Mate, you might as well pack up the game if you go and take that fight. So we're proud of him. He'll be back, and it was an amazing experience for him. But Canelo is a brilliant fighter.
And Canelo, obviously, now we've got another super middleweight champion in England, Smith. So do you think there was a tweet online? I can't remember who it was from, but it was an official tweet saying. I think
Eric Gomez said, like, oh,
they were interested in coming.
Wembley Stadium.
I don't see it coming to Wembley.
It won't come to the UK. But listen, Callum Smith would jump at the fight with Canelo for sure. And you know, I think the next fight will be Danny Jacobs. That's what I think. It's the unified middleweight world championship. I think DAZN definitely won that fight. It's a big fight for America, Cinco de Mayo. But we'll see. We'll see what happens over the next few weeks.
You say Canelo won't do the numbers in England that he would over there. But would he do it in an arena? Do you know what I mean? It's not as big.
Because you know the money over there is big money, and you know he's not quite the draw here that he obviously is over there. But you know he's a global star. He's a brilliant fighter.
And lastly, just to touch on as well, you mentioned last week that you're speaking to Amir Khan this week. Is there any further developments on that?
Not yet, but I think a decision will be imminent regarding who he fights.
Well, thanks for speaking to us.
Hey, Fight fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps. If you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you go ahead and do so by clicking this icon right here and hit the bell button so you can get notified every time we upload a new video. And we also have a free app available on iTunes and Google Play, so make sure you go and download that. Bye, Fight fans.